Here we are, another rock solid slip cover, nice purple one here, and make sure that we'll know what's in here just by looking at the handle. But let's take the cover off, have a quick look. This is my Cornell Vintage Brown. So this is my second Cornell amplifier that I've had. It was the one that I always wanted, and rather than getting this, I ended up getting a Traveller 5. Saw a review of it online, I thought that sounds brilliant, had a look at the price, and it's very reasonably priced, so I thought, yeah, I'm going to get that. I had it for a few years, was very happy with it. But when I downsized my collection in December, I found I was really missing a Cornell. And this model had been discontinued for a few years. So what I did was I emailed Denis Cornell, given that he's a UK based maker, and I said, any chance of you making me one of these? He said, let me have a look around the workshop, I'll see if I can get the parts and I'll throw one together for you. He got back to me fairly quickly and very much obliged, and here we are. So this was custom made for me by Denis himself. Lovely black Bronco. You can see there's an offset speaker there. The design on it's got these beautiful vents at the top. There's this beautiful vent at the back. And I love the way that he's got the corner cut out here, just so that the plug and the cable can go in there all nice and neat. It's attached into the power supply. It's a beautiful little touch. So this amplifier was made predominantly to get that brown sound of the 80s. It's very much in that kind of modded vintage Marshall kind of style. The sound at least anyway, not the actual design of the amp. 10 watts. And I'll just flip the amplifier around. It's probably easier just to show you the controls. So the controls are all facing this way because it was intended to be out in front of you when you were playing. So high and low inputs, gain. Now the gain control's got a defeat on it, so when the gain is pushed in, the entire gain range is available and bypasses the tone control. Well, bypasses the gain control, I should say, and gives you the maximum amount of gain straight out the front. You control everything from the guitar. When you pull it, the actual gain knob is active and you can sweep the control and get as much of as little gain as you want. I usually leave it on 3 for when I want to pull it out and get a cleaner tone, but most of the time I've usually just got it pushed in and I'm controlling everything from my guitar's volume. Volume control's got a tone shift on it, so there's a kind of scooped sound when it's pushed in. Pulled out, it'll increase the mid-range. Treble and bass, this amplifier has got an incredible amount of treble in it. I mean, it'll take your head off if you really dial it up. You can dial it back a bit and crank the bass on this, and it's a beautifully balanced sound. So as you can see, I've got the treble sitting at about 4 and the bass on 5. At one point before I made a small change to the amplifier, I wasn't able to have that treble sitting at 4, but I'll go into that change a little bit later on in the video. It's beautiful reverb on this. It usually sits anywhere between maybe about 0 and 1 for me. Even just the slightest hint of it is absolutely beautiful. And then we've got this output control here, a little bit dusty. So given that this amp is probably one of the loudest amps I've ever heard in my entire life, Cornell watts are the loudest watts you will hear in any amplifier. It's got these 4 power settings that are on this little switch, so if I can try and remember this now. So the D setting is 1/8 of a watt, C is 1/4 of a watt, B is 2 watts, and then A setting is the full 10 watts. For me, at home, it'll sit on the C setting, or the D, just depending on what I'm doing. If I'm using any clean sounds, I'll usually have it on C, D for any of the drive sounds, and you really can get a good amount of drive on this. As you can see, I've got the volume up at about 5 here. You can really crank this in a small room, and it won't get overpoweringly loud. On the D setting, you can still talk over it. It's loud, but not overpoweringly so. If you put it up to the A setting and have that volume control on, you wouldn't even be able to stand in the room. It's far too loud. So as I say, I made a small change to this amplifier. I changed out the V1 position 12AX7 with an ECC82. It's just cleaned up the response a little bit and gave the amp a little bit more clean range. Really reduced some of that treble also, and just made the amp a little bit more usable for me. I would advise, if anybody's got a vintage brown, swap out that V1 position ECC83 for an ECC82. You'll see a world of difference. Now, even although I bought this amplifier brand new and custom made, as you can see, it's not perfect. The Tolex hasn't been put on the best, and I think you usually see these lines in any of the videos or pictures that you'll see of a vintage brown, but where the heat started to get to the glow, it's just started to come away a little. I was considering at one point getting the whole thing re-Tolex, and I thought, nah, do you know what, I'm not going to, because it was Denis's hand that did this itself, and that wouldn't be right to go and take the Tolex off and have it all redone just because it's splitting a little bit. Doesn't bother me, just adds a little bit of character to it, and as I say, it was done by Denis's own hand, so that's worth more to me than it being neat. I don't really care. It's a brilliant sounding amplifier. Again, all hand wired, tag board, custom transformers. The speaker in this is a V-type, Celestine V-type. I always thought it would be better with a greenback, just given that it's based on that brown sound, and to be honest, I should have actually asked for one when I was custom ordering the amp, but I never did. And the speaker that's in here is really nice, so it's not even a quibble. I'll always wonder what the greenback would have sounded like, but again, it's not a massive issue. It's a really small amp, it's really light. I can just literally lug this right into the back of a car and away I go. This will never leave me, given that it was a custom make and it's all hand wired and all beautiful and singing. Medium gain amp, but for classic rock with a Les Paul or with my Wolfgang, if I'm going to be doing some of the older Van Halen stuff, it's just brilliant. Truth be told, I think this is probably my favourite amplifier that I've got just now. I can really use it for anything. So that is my Cornell Vintage Brown.